I'm Erica Lee Medium, here with you all at HausWitch. And as a medium, one of the most common questions I get is, what is a ghost? So during Halloween or in horror movies, just in our popular culture, we have a lot of ideas about what ghosts are and if they're scary or if they're not. I usually use the term ghost just to denote someone who's sort of overlapping with me in a way that I can perceive. I may be driving along the highway and I may just see someone walking and they're definitely coming from another time and another space, but they're there and I'm there and I'm able to pick up on that. When I was a child growing up and seeing spirit in my family home, I always referred to them as ghosts. And a part of me is still comfortable with that because when I think back to my childhood days, I was chatting to people I didn't really know, but they were making themselves known to me, as if you're on the metro and someone starts talking next to you. You may not know them, but they recognize your presence and they want to make themselves known. Another common theory that sort of pairs up with the word ghost for a lot of people is the sense of what I like to call an energetic residue or an imprint. So when you are receptive psychically, either sensitive in a clear sentient way or perceptive in a telepathic way, but in any case, when you're able to receive this information from other dimensions, so to speak, it wouldn't be uncommon that you could pick up on a pattern of existence or some residual energy. So for example, in a very old house, like this antique sort of Federalist period house that I was in Rhode Island not long ago, I could pick up on the presence of a gentleman, probably right at the prime of his life, maybe about midlife, just sort of working away and just sort of like being in his house and doing a lot of like handiwork there. You know, if you can imagine, someone built their own home, lived there for many, many years, worked their occupation out of this house. If we think about that, even in our living life, that creates a really strong connection. There's obviously like a real energetic attachment to that house and that place. Now, I sort of hesitate to use the word attachment. I don't mean that as far as like an attached spirit or a spirit being attached. I just mean almost more like an identity attachment or an emotional attachment. Like for myself, I have an attachment to certain places in the world because they mean a lot to me. So that type of attachment. So you can imagine that having so much of your life, so much of your emotional energy sort of contained in one space amplifies that expression. And so it can create sort of an imprint. And as a psychic person yourself, you can absolutely receive an awareness of that pattern that once existed in that place. So when you're going to places that we often in popular culture are termed as haunted, you may pick up on a presence that others have picked up on. Is somebody really there, or is that the energetic pattern that's happening? Well, I will say to you that unquestionably and definitely, we can pick up on the fingerprint of spirit. And when I say that, if you imagine your fingerprint, so if I was to touch this wall over here, it would leave an impression. And then when I go home at the end of the day, my fingerprint might still be there, but I'm not. So the next person may come in and see my fingerprint, but am I there in the room with them? I'm not, but the imprint of me is. And so in many cases, this is merely what's being picked up on. However, we can't discredit spirit. The intelligence of spirit is very strong, very sharp, and more than we've ever been able to quantify. There is the potentiality and the possibility for that person who once lived in that space and had such a connection to it to be aware of the added energy that is given to their presence. So if you think about it, if you're in a place and you pick up on this pattern with the infinite intelligence of spirit, there absolutely is the possibility that they're aware of that. And so they may choose, while you're admiring or marveling over this man's craftsmanship in the house that he built, he may in that lifetime had great pride in that craftsmanship and sense that you can pick up on his fingerprint, and thereby he may choose to come and communicate with you more. You always have the power to communicate. They definitely have the ability to receive the intention of that communication. So if you're ever in an experience where you do feel afraid, you can just remind yourself that you have the power, it's all about your intention, and that your spirit self is a powerful conduit for energy and for change. So if you ever do feel afraid, you can just command that you have your space back and that you want your space. Because we know boundaries are important in life as in spirit. And that will help you be back in the present moment and feeling much more empowered.